Hey, welcome to Mike's Trains and thanks for joining me for another video. We're going to start actually doing some stuff here. Last video I showed you how I mocked up this little wall, all right? So I went and painted that piece and this is what we end up with. Looks a little different than what you saw last week's video. And I didn't show how I made it. It wasn't too big of a deal. But it is painted and weathered and it does match the existing wall. So now we're going to get this installed. And to put this in, I'm going to do a couple things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a little bit of CA or super glue right down the seam on this. So this takes a few minutes to dry. So now I'm just going to take my 230 DAP caulk Dynaflex here. That's all I'm using. I use this for most everything on my layout. I'm just going to run a bead of this down the back here. And that should be all we need for this whole thing. So now we're going to press this in. Into place right here. Like that. And then at the top of this, I'm just going to put a little clip to hold this tight. Like that. Now you can see that this bottom is raised up just a little bit. Not really not really going to worry too much about this gap down in here. This part here is tight. I've got the clip on the top holding it, and then the only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run some caulk on the inside at the bottom of this just to hold this piece in place. So I'm just going to go down in here and I'm going to push this caulk in here. You can see it squeezing on the bottom. We're just going to leave that like that, and I'm going to let that dry up. That's going to stay like that. All right, so I have my weight. This block here is about maybe 8 pounds of steel. And I'm just going to push this up against all of this just so this dries nice and tight. And then I'm going to let that dry overnight. The super glue is going to dry pretty quick, but the caulk's going to take a little while to set up. So I'm going to leave that be. And the next part I want to do in this video is I want to talk about, I don't want to talk about it, I want to build it. The parking lot that's going to go with this building that's going to go in this area here. I showed you the parking lot a little bit in the last video. So why don't we go upstairs and we'll start building this whole parking lot area here. All right, guys, here we are on top of the workbench. And this is going to be the beginning of the parking lot. You will see that it does look a little different than what I showed you downstairs last week. That's because I decided to redo. I didn't like the cut that went around the building. So I cut a new piece. And yeah, I know, I hate redoing what I've already done. But listen, this is what you got to do, or what I got to do. So what I did was I notched out for the uprights in this building. You got these little build outs here all the way around the building, right? So I marked them all off and I recut a new one. So all these notches are in here, all down the 3 sides. So now the building sits nice and flat and tight inside of this piece here. Right, it sits down in all the way around. It's a nice tight fit. There's a little bit of space showing in here, but we're going to address that in a little bit. But now we have a nice tight fit, okay? Now, width-wise out here, this is where I want it to be. This side is where the track goes, okay? But I need to add on to the front because the piece I had wasn't quite deep enough for the whole thing. So that's where this piece comes in. And you can see I've notched it a little bit up at the top here. So it comes up a little bit. And that's to fit underneath this ramp. So the notch goes in and it's going to go just like this. And this will fit tight and it goes all the way to the edge over here. And the ramp fits and it sits right up on top of this piece here. Now I will have to trim this back a little bit so it goes to the edge of the ramp, but that's okay. What I need now, and I don't need to do register marks because I made this so that this piece here, let me pull this out of here. So this notch here sits tight up against this piece. So the first thing we got to do is we have to join these two pieces together so that we have a one giant piece, and then I need to come along the back side and we'll add some more on the back end up here. But let me show you how I'm going to join these together. I'm going to start out with my glass here because I don't like gluing on this cutting mat. The glue just eats right through it. So I'm going to take this and flip it over, and we're going to do this on the back side. And we don't need this sticker on here. Let's get rid of this. This we don't want. I just want to get it off where we're putting the glue at. Alright, that should be good enough. I don't want to get too crazy with it. I just want to make sure we've got a good area of styrene here to be adding the glue to. So I want to make sure I'm going the right way. So this goes here. So we want to flip this over. And this is going to go like this. So in order to join this, what I have, I cut myself a 1-inch wide strip. This is 10 thousandths. 10 thousandths? I think it's 10 thousandths styrene. And I'm going to run that right over the top of this from end to end. And I'm going to run this right out to the end here. And we're going to take scissors and cut that off. No need for a knife, it's very thin. Like that. Alright, and that's going to run right across here. Okay. But what I need to do, what we want to do first, is we got to soak this whole area in a whole bunch of the glue. I'm just going to run a whole bunch of this right down there. As tight as we can, and just let it set up for a minute. And you can see the plastic is kind of squeezing up in there. That's what you want to see. That tells you you've got a nice tight fit. Then we're going to take this. I'm going to throw this on top, and yeah, the paper's still under there, but you know what? The glue will get right through that. It's not a problem. Like that. And then we're just going to run the glue right down the edges here. I'm just going to lift this just a little bit. So we end up with this. And it looks like a mess, but that's okay. It's not as bad as it looks. This I'll have to take a little bit of sandpaper to, and we'll clean that right up. But that's fairly well joined, and that'll go like that. Now we just need one more piece down at this end, and I'm not going to make that huge, right? So we have, this goes like this, and I have just a small bit. What I want is more like a parking lot edge. Okay. I think we're going to call that part done. So that's all set. So now we have our new parking lot. Now this will need to be trimmed. Of course, we have to cut a little bit off of here, and then we have to kind of shape this back parking lot, right? So I won't know that until I take it downstairs exactly what those dimensions are going to be. So we're going to wait to do that, because I can trim that after this is all finished and painted. We can still trim that at that point. And it's really not going to matter, because all it's going to do is white up the edge after this is painted. We can cover that up in ground foam, scenery materials, and we'll be all set. So not a problem. Let's get rid of the glass. So now you can see the actual size of the parking lot that we're talking about. We'll fit this back in, and that'll fit just like that. All right. So now we have a good decent sized parking lot in the back here. You know, we've got the road coming down the side, and then we've got the front parking lot here. Okay, so we have a decent sized little deal going on here, and that's kind of what we're looking for. Again, I'm going to have to come back and I have to trim a little bit off of here, which is fine. The next thing we want to do is I want to blend this ramp right here into the parking lot. Now, if I don't do it now, I'll have to figure out some way to blend this on the layout once the building is installed. But I have a different idea. And what I want to do is I want to mount the building in the parking lot and make this whole thing just one giant piece. And we can just bring this right down to the layout and glue it right down into place. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over. This is something I've never tried before, and I kind of want to see how it's going to go. Is I want to take this and I want to get all the pieces in here. I want to get this all fitting in the way it's supposed to be. Okay. And then let me get some of the stock that I'm going to use, and I'll show you how I'm going to glue this to this without anything showing from above. Okay, so what I have is I'm using this angle stuff. It's 3/16, it says. So when you look at it here, this is what I'm using. All right. So I'm going to take this, and when I flip this over like this, this is all going to fit because I told it to, like this. And then this all fits down inside of here, and everything is beautiful. Like that. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this angle stuff and I'm going to mount it like this, and we're going to mount the parking lot to the building like this. I'm just going to use scissors to cut this. I really don't want to do any more than that. I don't think it's worth it. Now, as I said, I've never done this before, so we're going to give it a try and see what happens. So this is going to go in here. Now, it could end up being a problem. This could come back and bite me in the butt later. But I think this is how I want to do this. And I want to put this underneath here. Right? We're going to go underneath, and we're going to glue that right to that, like this. And then I'm going to come down the back side. We're going to glue this piece right to the building. Like that. Yeah, I'm losing building details. Okay, and I'm just going to work my way around the building and get all of this in there. Alright, so you see what I'm doing. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to shut the cameras off. I'm going to finish doing all the way around, and we'll come back and look at that when it's finished. Alright, so this is all in now. Okay, it didn't take all that much, right? There is something I had to do, but this is the idea. This is what we're looking for. The other reason for filling this from the underneath is so that I can fill parking lot areas tight up to the walls here, like all these little spaces and gaps. I can fill all that in now, whereas before I couldn't. So you've got a solid base underneath that to fill in for. The only other thing I want to do now is I want to put glue underneath this to hold this ramp down. Okay, so we can glue that down. And then I can come back with filler and actually blend this right in nicely, and then you'll never even, I mean, the transition will hardly even show at all. So that'll go like that. Alright. Ideally, this isn't really what you want to do, but it's what I'm going to do for this situation. And then we'll, like I said, then we'll come back and we're going to fill in all these little gaps here, all the way around the sides of the building here. And that's going to be that. And then we'll add the lighting. And I think we'll do the lighting next week. By then I should have all these spots filled in. And this will be ready to be painted. Alright. But I'm going to wait until I get the lighting in. The only other thing I had to do was I had to pull out the front door out of the front door and windows out of this building, which is right here, because I couldn't remove the glass, the sheet from the windows, and my strip I put across the bottom was going to interfere. So I pulled that out, and then I added a new one. I put a new door in there and then put my strip across, and then I'll just add the windows afterwards. But that's it. That's all there is to this. That's the beginning stages. This is how we're going to get started. And then I think I'm also going to repaint this whole platform here. We're going to get that repainted, which means I got to take off these awnings, this awning, get rid of this stuff that's out on the platform, and then that all has to get repainted. At the same time we paint the parking lot, we'll repaint this, and this will be beautiful. It'll be renewed and better than ever. So, that being said, I think that's all I'm going to do for this week. I got a lot of other stuff pending, so I think that's going to be it for this week. When we come back next week, we'll start taking care of some of this other stuff. I'll see what I can get done beforehand, and we'll pick up with this next week. So, yeah, that's it. If you're just finding me for the first time, this is something that you might be interested in. Please, by all means, subscribe to my channel. Love to have you along. So until next time, happy modeling.